My Lords, I had a few calm sentences worked out in response to this particular motion, and I completely scrapped that once I'd actually picked up and read this Commons disagreement, amendments in lieu and reasons, because quite honestly, the reasons that the Commons have given for rejecting our amendments is absolutely pathetic. And I disagree very strongly with the noble Lord Randall of Uxbridge, whom I am very fond of, when he says that non-lawyers shouldn't get involved in lawyerly debates. And what I've seen here in your Lordship's house is lawyers arguing ferociously on opposite sides of the chamber about tiny little issues, and so lawyers often don't agree, and therefore at times you have to have some common sense. Now, it's no secret, I think, well, it might not be, that I'm extremely intolerant of this particular government. And quite honestly, the noble Lord the Minister, referring to a substantial majority from the other place, cuts no ice here, when the government has an 80-plus majority and some quite unsavoury little people as well from other parties. And also the noble Lord Randall of Uxbridge, I'm sorry, I've just got scribbled notes now all over these sheets of paper because of my fury at what I've heard. One of the points about the lawyers in the other place is, of course, that they've given up their practices to become MPs, and that means they're relatively inexperienced, whereas here we have experienced lawyers who do their best to give the government good advice, but somehow it's never enough, or very rarely enough. And I just want to point out this. The Commons' reason for disagreeing with Amendment 37, because it's inappropriate to extend the so-called householder defence to victims of domestic abuse who use disproportionate force against their abusers in self-defence. Now, I would argue inherent in that phrase is the deep misogyny that we see all throughout society, because a householder who uses force against an intruder is almost invariably going to be a man, and the person who attacks their abuser is almost invariably going to be a woman. This is misogyny written into these notes. And of course, when we come later to the disagreement to the Lord's Amendment 38, it is inappropriate to provide a new defence for victims of domestic abuse who are compelled to commit an offence as a result of such abuse, as the existing common law defence of duress is sufficient. This is clearly not true, because women are still being sent to prison for in many cases, quite justified aggression against their abusers. And of course, that is it's repeated later in rejecting other amendments of ours. And I just don't see how the government can persist in its blindness towards what is happening in society, and at least trying to make it a little bit better. I realise fully that this bill is a very valuable bill. We absolutely need it. But why not make it as good as we possibly can? And I very much support the new amendment by the noble Lady Kennedy of the Shores, and I'm very glad that she has persisted on this issue. And I do hope that the noble Lord the Minister will actually listen to what we're saying now and actually include or take back to, oh, I'm sorry, I was going to say his masters, but you know what I mean, back to his department, the fact that this would be a good addition to the government's review on sentencing. And I can't say that forcefully enough. And I just have one question. Well, I have lots of questions, including why won't the government see sense? But my particular question is, when will this government review on sentencing actually report?